welcome folks back to Cinema Alley, the show where we talk about your favorite movies and their stories. I am your host James Howell, and always with me is my host Chris Cup. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm tired.
We're all are. And I had to gulp a
Oh,
second cup of coffee because of you, because you wanted to record so late in the evening.
and
Fucking
I
work.
live to make you miserable.
There's a whole bunch of other people that live to make me miserable. I don't need you to fucking make me miserable. Oh my god.
I
But
just want my face to be the last face you see before you go
that's scary. That's even more scary than
to
seeing
bed.
Reagan's fucking face in The Exorcist, or the Pazuzu that flashes. Oh my god! So, folks, we're talking about a very popular SNL movie, one of the first of its kind. And I think before jumping into it, I think we could sit there and really kind of talk about some of the other SNL movies, Coneheads, Wayne's World, Night at the Roxbury, Superstar, Magruba, which that one bombed a lot harder than the bombs that went in that movie. Um, I mean, like, it's true and everything. But Chris, what's your favorite SNL movie besides the one that we're tackling
uh,
today?
I mean, like, I never really watched SNL at all. So like, you bringing up these are SNL movies. I'm like, oh, cool.
Kind of
They
makes sense
started
why
out as
you
just
avoided them.
sketches and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really avoid them. I loved watching Conehead on like Comedy Central growing up and Wayne's World. Uh, what else? What else? What other SNL? Ryan of the Roxbury was a great one.
Baby, don't hurt me.
Yeah,
I always like the one that they
yeah,
did with Jim Carrey and everything, where they all rub their nose at the same time, or like in sync and everything. And then the
yeah,
moment that the tape stopped playing, they're like, "Quick, blow on it!" And then they put it back in and they just jam right to it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's probably the best one. Chris Kattan
yeah.
and Will
I
Ferrell do
mean,
good.
I think uh, aside from Blues Brothers, definitely Wayne's World, probably
I
my
could
favorite
agree.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wayne's World, party time, excellent. Woo, 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 woo,
just
woo.
like the wacky
Yeah.
characters, and I love Garth. He's just so awkward.
I think
But
we all
yeah.
carry a bit of Garth in ourselves. That's definitely for sure, and everything. I love the what was it? I think there's like 20 or so different freaking product placements that was in the first movie, and everything. And they
Oh yeah,
even
because he's
and they,
like,
they made the whole gag thing where it's like freaking
yeah,
Doritos and like Nike and everything. Like, just do it. And yeah, like that was like the bulk of it. But like I think they also did other product placement, and yeah, that had to
gotta
been, yeah. I love that.
gotta
Yeah,
make that
probably
product placement
besides.
money.
Pretty much and everything. Like, Chris had already sat there and said, we're covering the Blues Brothers today. But yeah, Wayne's World, yeah, to me, that's the most successful SNL. That was the one that actually just knocked everything out of the park. It was the perfect mixture of everything. And I was actually one of the few people that actually thought the sequel was better than the first movie when they were putting on Wayne
Wayne's
Stock.
World too. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Waynestock was that was a fun one. I think that's the one I watched first
I think a
because
lot of
that's the
people
only
did
one
because
that
that
could
one was put
like,
on TV more than the first one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just the ending kind of making fun of the graduate going to the church. "Oh,
Yeah.
no, and it's the wrong one, and he goes across the
Sorry.
street. It was
Yeah.
just classic, yeah.
And what was it? My favorite one was the one with Chris Farley learning to be a roadie and having to keep all the rowdy people back. Because they did that skit again in Airheads
Yeah,
and everything where like Farley's the cop and it's like you gotta learn to improvise on the gig and and know how to handle these people. And yeah, you see that in Airheads, which isn't an SNL film, but it's a nice throwback to Wayne. I
yeah.
think Wayne's World came out, the sequel came out
That's the one
after
with
Airheads.
Brendan Fraser and
Yes.
Fraser and
Yeah.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler, Steve
Yeah,
Buscemi, they're like in a metal group, and they hold
that's a
the
good
radio
one.
station. We got to cover that one in the future. That's a fun one. That's a really fun one. Everything, but
Yeah,
nothing beats whenever Chris Farley is trying to find the Brendan Fraser's girlfriend so that they can get like the tape or whatever back and everything, the mixtape. And the
Yeah.
one dude like gets in Farley's way and calls him fat, and he's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do about it?" And so he goes and he grabs his nipple ring and he just fucking yanks it right off, and Farley like looks at the ring. He's like, "Ah, improvise. That's what the chief always told me." And that's what it kind of felt like when they did Wayne's World 2. They went back to that and they still perfected it with the head roadie teaching them all how to handle the disgruntled audience members.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for SNL films and everything. They're fun to watch every now and then, but I don't really hold them in my heart like I do other films. They're very much something. They're just something to pass the time, and if you really just need a good dumb laugh, that's what they are.
Classic SNL when it was funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another thing. I actually would thought that the Coneheads would have succeeded far better as a television show.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
I mean,
like a much more adult version of Mork and Mindy, maybe with a little twist of Married with Children.
yeah, but I mean, I feel like it would have cost a lot of money because Dan Aykroyd definitely like would have wanted to be in TV. Dan Aykroyd's never really done a lot of TV. I feel like that would have been expensive, right?
Nah, yeah. That well, I don't know how. I doubt he was paid a whole lot for SNL because I doubt that the cast were really paid a whole lot. What we'll learn about in today's episode was just how much. Oops, excuse me. How little Aykroyd was paid because they had to keep Belushi on board, and they were paying him, out the ass for the fucking budget and everything, and that was on his coke habits and all the other parties and everything that Belushi had. But
Yeah.
Chris, what are your first thoughts on the Blues Brothers?
I think this is just like one of the coolest little movies. Just one of the simplest like fun adventures, and it doubles as a musical. There are musical numbers
Mm-hmm.
and musicians pop in and out throughout the movie, and it's just a nice little like you know the '80s kind of in one movie, the '70s and '80s, the
Yeah,
'70s I guess because
with
it's
your blues
kept out in '80s.
musicals. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's just one of like my favorite films 'cause the characters are just kind of wacky and like the things they have to go through to like just save this little orphanage. It's fun. It's a great little movie.
Well, now here comes the devil on your shoulder because I actually thought it was very much an underwhelming read. While an amazing movie, it was very much entertaining. I felt it was very much underwhelming, and that I felt nothing of these characters reading the script. Aykroyd's dry sense of humor just does not mesh well on page compared to on screen, and I felt disappointed. After actually reading the script, I actually thought I read horrid hot garbage. And this is coming from me because I love John Landis, and I was like, "You tell me
Yeah.
John Landis, you know, co-wrote this?" I was like, "Oh my god, this fucking sucks. This sucks." Uh,
Like
but I love
you
the
just
movie.
didn't like.
The movie is really really good, but it felt
You feel like
like
there wasn't distinction enough between the two characters, or
well,
like
you could
is that
definitely
what?
tell the difference. I mean, Aykroyd
Yeah.
every fucking 2 to 3 pages, it felt like he kept saying we're on a mission from God, and it's like if I
Yeah.
read that fucking statement one more goddamn time, I swear to God, like I'm gonna smack him so
It's
damn hard.
true though.
True, like yeah, like that, but like he constantly, it's one of those one-liners that they just brain it into you, and it's not really that catchy, but it's just funny because every time someone's like, "Well, what are you guys up to?" We're on a mission from God. It's like, can
Yeah.
he say anything else? Can he reiterate it? But no, that's the
They
statement.
grew up in this orphanarium with this head nun as like their
They still fucking
motherly
swore and
matriarch,
got their
and
asses whipped by that
she,
nun.
yeah, she instilled the fear of God into them, and so like you can definitely tell it like affected Elwood more than it did Jake there, but like
Yeah,
Jake gets the heavenly inspiration to save the orphanage by reuniting the band and making the money, and it's
I
just
think you're confusing the religious experience with cocaine because that's the only way I think he was able to do those flips was with cocaine. I mean, you look at Chris Farley and every like
I mean there
the
were
only way he could do the
wires and stuff.
cartwheel, yeah, the only way he could do the cartwheels and everything was probably wired on coke. Um, but
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 like these characters are great. Like they're simple,
They
but like
are, yeah, very
they're
simple, but I don't know. I could
they're
not get
determined.
that. I could not get that through the screenplay. It felt like such broad strokes. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and of course, I was figuring maybe in the script that some of the stuff that maybe could have been cut out, like the full reason why was it Princess Leia is fucking chasing after him.
The mystery woman.
Yeah, the mystery woman. I kind of really wish that we had a scene, but like also too, we're talking Aykroyd here. Aykroyd. Okay, so I'll just flat out say it. I've read the script of Ghostbusters, and I finally sat there and learned that Dan Aykroyd, while he does really good on concept, he doesn't really nail these concepts very well on page. But that's why you had Harold Ramis that knew how to execute it, and Harold could probably listen to Dan all day and be like, of the 30 ideas you just gave me, 2 to 3 of them actually sound really good. I'll fill in the rest. You know, if it felt more like Harold had more, as much as Aykroyd had the vision, Harold had the tools to know where to put it. Um,
Yeah.
I kind of felt
Well,
like John
Dan
Landis.
Aykroyd
I felt like John
is kind
Landis
of a
did
crazy
not.
character.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is eccentric, very
He's a great
much.
director.
What
Yeah.
movies has he directed?
John Landis, he's like one
Oh,
of
oh,
the
I thought you
older.
meant like Aykroyd as a director. I was like, what movies did
Oh
Aykroyd
no,
directed? You know,
I mean just
Aykroyd's very hit and
Aykroyd.
miss for me. Even during his heyday, it's very hit
Yeah.
and miss. Um,
Well, yeah.
I
I
liked him in
mean I
Tommy
think
Boy,
the duo Tommy Boy. Oh yeah, he was the
Callahan
guy
Autos,
behind.
because I sell American car
Yeah.
parts to the American working man, because that's what I do, and I forgot what's the rest of it, but
He's he's a passionate dude. Like he believes
mm-hmm.
in aliens and all that. He's a conspiracy nut, and like he's kind of like
He's
the
Chris in
famous
40
version
years,
of me.
so.
Yeah, he's exactly. That's why I probably like him so much. Like this guy gets it.
And 40
But
in 40 years you'll be Dan Aykroyd, and in 40 years I'll be Mark Maron. What a fucking duo.
but yeah, back to the thing you were saying about Harold Ramis, and I mean Harold Ramis and Bill Murray were like the comedic
Yeah.
duo. Like they were the iconic ones. They did Stripes, Ghostbusters together. They did a lot of stuff
They
until
did
they're falling out.
did they do Groundhog Day, or was that the National Lampoon writer that did Groundhog Day? I
Um,
think Harold was one of the writers, but I don't know if he was the screenwriter
what
for that.
forgot which one? Which movie was it that like broke them? Like
That's a good
Murray.
question. Cause I know by the
Yeah,
time that they did Ghostbusters 2, Bill was like definitely on the shelf if he ever even wanted to do it. So it had to have been right
yeah.
before Ghostbusters 2. Um, and then I think after Ghostbusters 2, what, it was Scrooge?
It was their friendship collapsed on the set of Groundhog's Day. So
Really?
Ramis,
God,
yeah,
that still feels too early though.
it was 1993. I mean, they were very like more of an 80s comedy duo. You know?
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, God, that fucking
yeah,
hurt. Like I'm feeling that. Like, oh, that hurt. I didn't think it had been Groundhog's Day that's what fucked them up. You know.
yeah.
I guess you could kind of see it in some of Bill Murray's performance in there. It's not his most liveliest role. So I'm pretty sure he kind of came to set like, oh, I gotta fucking play around with this goddamn gopher, and
Yeah.
but like his scenes were the most iconic. You know, it's oh, how's he gonna get rid of the gopher and everything,
Yeah.
and then that watching him with the old woman is all like, oh yeah, I see that perfect swing, and then it pulls back and it reveals he's washing his golf balls, and it's like,
Yeah. I mean,
oh, that hurts.
if the creativity definitely probably can't come from Ramis when it comes to writing the Blues Brothers scripts, but like it was more John Landis, Aykroyd, like yeah, probably less more comedic and more straight when it comes to their
Yeah,
storytelling.
yeah. Like they were. It was almost like It was like too straight. You know how like you have in a comedy duo, you have the straight man and you have the funny man. It didn't really sit
Yeah,
there feel like either one of them were really trying to be funny. It was just straight. They were playing it straight. That was the only way that
yeah.
they. I think that was the only way you could really get some laughs. Is they honestly do believe in themselves
It was
and
more situational comedy stuff going on because of what
yeah,
they were
yeah.
doing, like
That's yeah.
the screwing
That's
people
too.
over and flipping off Nazis and stuff.
That's the best part. That's
Yeah.
the best part is when they go after the Nazis and everything. But yeah, when we mention writing to the script, so this one's from the Vanity Fair article called "Soul Men: The Making of the Blues Brothers" by Ned Zeman back in December 18th, 2012. God, that's I just might as well throw that fucking article up there, why don't I? It had it where it first started as an idea before SNL picked them up. They had a band that formed with Belushi as the lead, and pretty much the whole general plot of this film mimics, just the band getting back together again. Which usually in most musicals that deal with something about a band, it's always about, hey, we gotta get the band back together again. I don't think it's very rarely I've ever found a story, oh, we're gonna go form a band and then we're gonna try to actually make a name for ourselves. No, these guys have already made a name for themselves to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But Aykroyd turned in the first draft unwrapped, first draft wrapped with a cover of a phone book at a whopping 324 pages. This damn man was writing like Stephen King. And with fucking Dan Aykroyd humor, he wrote it in free verse style, but penned it as written by the Scriptatron GL 9000. I looked at that. I was like, oh, there goes that essential, that not essential, that eccentric personality of his. But yeah, he turned in 324 fucking pages. And what did we read, what did we read, Chris? We read 52 pages from this
We
fucking
read
piece.
a whopping
This
52 pages.
when I read this and I finished reading it, I was like, Chris, where the fuck is the rest of the script? Because I legit felt that way. I felt like, dude, did someone partially only upload? Because I'm thinking maybe 103 pages. That's generally right around.
Hey, remember
Right
how you were
around.
asking for like shorter scripts this time around? Like,
I wasn't asking for. I felt like I was reading a short fucking film and everything. And, I need to be. Hey, Chris, can we get something around the range of 80 to 120 pages? Maybe not a 240 or a 52. I guess I have to be a little bit more literate. But for those that are also wondering what is free verse is a form of poetry that lacks consistent rhythm scheme, metrical pattern, or musical form. So,
yeah.
I guess in today's age, you call that slam poetry. I don't know. I'm not in the poet. I'm not in the poet circle.
But this film is 2 hours and 13 minutes, according to
I know,
Google here.
and the general measurement of time in scripts is a page per minute. That's the general sense.
So that's why it's so confusing.
That's why I was like, dude, where the fuck's the rest of this fucking script?
Didn't we have a similar issue in reading South Park? Like, it was a shorter script and it was a musical. Like, that was.
I think the script was a little bit longer than the actual runtime, because the actual runtime I think was a minute and a half.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like a reversal.
But also, too, what we were reading in the South Park script, that was draft number 7, and they still had a couple more drafts before they even got to where the hell. I actually thought the musical numbers were fine to a certain extent, but actually watching the movie, I felt like this movie should have been only an hour and a half. It felt way too overstretched and everything.
Really?
And there was quite a bit of like too many of the subplots. Like they kind of like had it with the mysterious woman. It does kind of save them. It was like their what the hell is it called? Not a MacGuffin. What's the screenwriting trope when like randomly out of nowhere the heroes are saved by Deus Ex Machina? Like that she's the Deus Ex Machina because I think it was the cops or it was the Nazis. I think she ended up pretty much saving the heroes from. But like,
well, she saved them from the cops kind of on the first point, but she was trying to kill them.
Yeah,
the entire time she's trying to kill them, or at least Jake.
Yeah, and everything, because Jake stood her up at the wedding, and it's there's a lot of things I have. For one, I was talking to a guy about this before recording. I said there is one musical number you cannot take out of this because it's so essential, and it's Aretha Franklin's, I think it's Stay Back or something like that, or when she's singing about her husband and everything and talking about
trying to make sure he doesn't go with them.
Yeah. And what did he do? He went off with them. It was, but there are some fun musicals in there that it's like, oh, like this is, like I've been humming all today. Everybody needs somebody to love, and it's all
Yeah.
like I hate it. I used to love that song. Now I fucking hate this song because that's all I've been fucking.
You should love it more now.
Oh my god!
No,
But
but like my probably favorite moment is like when they go to the shop to get more their musical instruments and they meet Ray Charles, and
I mean, yeah.
the thing is he's blind, but he can see a kid trying to pocket something, and he shoots him on the kid's head. It's just like poor little kid trying to already ruined or something like that.
Well, like, what
Just
was it? You know, I think like they even like, I think even the brothers like mentioned it was like, how'd you know to shoot above his head? And I think he ended up pretty much saying I didn't. It was like, oh my god, it was like Ray Charles was
yeah,
about to kill someone. Yeah,
but
so
yeah,
so I guess a little bit of more like the kind of background of the story. It's like Dan Aykroyd really wanted to sit there and bring back the blues of the Chicago area.
yeah,
That's something that he loved, and it's what him and Belushi bonded over, and it's what formed the band to begin with. Um, was their love for blues and playing it, and I'm guessing they had to have started doing this during their National Lampoon days, even though that was in New York. But like, what is it? It probably had to go all the way back to their time at is it Still City TV? The SCTV stuff that was before SNL.
oh, I
I
don't
I
know.
think that was their stomping ground because a lot of the Chicago, Illinois crowd and everything for comedians, most of them all came down from Canada. But I'm
Yeah,
guessing that's generally when they had that formed. And just going through the SNL thing, they were probably pestering them. Yeah, let us do the Blues Brothers, and I think they did like a handful of skits before they finally got their movie made.
yeah. Should go back and try to find those skits and watch
Yeah. Well, like I'm pretty sure. I think the one thing about when it comes to SNL movies is if it works very well in the skit, that's probably the best way for them to pitch a short film, and to pitch a movie. Is like, hey, yeah, like this was originally a movie idea. We did it in a skit form. Do you think that we
it.
can
Yeah,
sit there and, here's the script to the movie. We updated it. Um, which I'm kind of glad because at least with SNL, you kind of get like you get more of a trial and error. It's like, okay, that worked, that didn't. Let's keep going with it until they
yeah,
perfected it. But I kind of felt like they probably perfected it way beforehand because of their time playing before SNL.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I definitely like. I never really thought of like the sketches as a way to like pitch a movie. Like that is a pretty ingenious way to like do something.
I
Like,
mean,
hey,
if
you
I would
got
do that, that's what I
a
do.
platform. Yeah,
Yeah.
just got to be like funny.
I mean, how Aykroyd was able to pull this shit off with Blues Brothers and then Coneheads, because Coneheads was what, 83?
I
How'd it
think it was
be?
like 90s. It was
Was it
mid 90s
90s?
or something. I think so.
Because I think Wayne's
Yeah.
World, I know for a fact was like late 80s, probably 89 at probably the latest, but it was mostly the 90s. It was the early 90s and everything. It had to be. I don't know, folks. I'm
92 was Wayne's World.
was it? Oh, okay. So then what? It had to
Yeah.
be 95 then for Wayne's World 2?
Let's see. Wayne's World
It had to have
2.
been a couple of
Coneheads
years.
was 93. Oh,
Really?
93 was was 90 Wayne's World 2.
Oh, so
So
they had two
they
SNL movies dropped in one year.
yeah, they had a quick turnaround for that.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
What's his damn name? Lauren Michaels was happy for that year. That's got been like probably the most profitable year movie wise. Walk us through some of your favorite moments from this movie. Because obviously it's
Um,
all in the script, but it's done in such broad, quick fashion. So
yeah. Um, Probably like when they meet the nun and it's just the way she like attacks them for like just cursing in general and taking the God Lord's name in vain.
mm-hmm.
And she kicks them out of the room and they fall down the stairs and she like kind of like hovers back in like freaking Dracula back into the room and the door
It's
shuts
like,
in front of her.
oh my god. You,
Just
you know
like
what?
she's a heavenly being.
We definitely need to recreate some Blues Brothers stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can do a cartwheel as Belushi, but you can definitely fill the Aykroyd role, and I can do the Jake role and everything. And I mean, it's not the first time I've cursed in front of a holy figure or any form of authority and gotten snapped at for it. So to me,
Yeah,
that would just be
it's
a
okay.
flashback
There
to my
is no
childhood.
God.
You heard it
Um,
here, folks.
yeah.
Strike
Sorry to
him
break it to
first,
you.
okay? Let me get a run. Let me get a run.
You can't hit me. But no, the shop with Ray Charles is definitely my second one I mentioned, and probably my just all the moments with Carrie Fisher's mysterious woman,
It kept getting more crazier and crazier.
and just like the fact that they just weren't like reacting to what was going on to them, like they were just like pushing it off.
I do believe so. There's two things about that I both enjoy and I kind of cringed at. So the one that makes me laugh the most is when she came at him with the flamethrower, and yet none of that fucking the stand-in telephone thing, not a
Yeah,
scratch. It just got blown up in the air right next to the fucking tank, and everything. Like no cracks in the glass, whatever. Not even the brothers were even like scorched. They're fine.
yeah.
Um,
You know why
that
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 is, right?
that why?
Because they're protected from God. They got God on their side.
You had the
You
perfect
know?
fucking damn moment to sit there and say because they're on a mission from God, and
They're on a mission from God.
you blew it. You blew it.
Well,
But
you
the
didn't
other
want to hear it
one,
anymore.
but the one that I have an issue with, and it's more just of a special effects thing. It's when the building collapses. You could definitely tell that that was blue screened because it's so tinted. But I
Yeah.
just love that they. I think like I don't think that's a practical like or a miniature.
I
I
think
think that was an actual building.
the interior was definitely like practical because like they're
Yeah,
in the bed and the cops are bursting in and it all like kind of collapses inside.
yeah,
Yeah.
and everything. But like, I think it was either it was like a miniature or they just went and found some random building that got demolished, and then they just try to
Yeah.
fit it within that block. You know, because I think it was like on a
Yeah.
corner, so I think it was easier to just kind of blue screen that in. Um,
Yeah.
that's probably really my only gripe when it comes to visuals. But man, the chase scenes.
Yeah. Chase
Do we
scenes.
want to get on those?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. First with the cops. Yeah.
It's the most
Their first
destroyed
full.
cop cars on a screen. I think it still holds
Really?
that record. Yeah, I think it holds the record to the most wrecked cars on screen. Smokey and the
Oh
Bandit
wow.
couldn't beat it, and any of the other clones of that couldn't
Huh.
beat it.
I would think like uh the mind keeps going to Reno 911 the movie, and they're like, if you get a chance to go into a police car crash, you do it, and they're all like crashing into each other.
I haven't seen that one. I'm gonna have to watch that one now.
Just the
Is that the
dumbest
new one?
shit.
Is that the new one, or was that was the old
Uh,
one?
I think it was the first movie that they did. Like they're going to Miami or something, and
Okay.
they have to like kind of take over. But
I
like
love how
yeah,
we're
that
supposed to talk
surprises
about one
me.
movie, but yet we're pulling from all these other films that have essentially
Hey
copied it.
man,
It's
we
copied
love
it, or
movies.
yeah, I will of course and everything. But like I've noticed, it's like man, everything we've talked about, it's either it's pulled from,
Yeah,
or it's been replicated so much, and it goes to show you that the movie is still alive, you know, in some modern cinema, you know. Like I enjoy like Bullet. I think came out in 1980. That was a really good like car chase scene in that one, and it's kind of like what
yeah.
revolutionized some car scenes in movies. But you can't beat the Blues Brothers. Like long before you had Fast and the Furious and all that ridiculous Toretto fucking ramming cars with like this makeshift fucking barricade.
They're
Fucking
staying cool as they go through that mall, just like
exactly.
pointing out shops.
You know, they didn't need no excess barricade. They didn't need no nos. They just went through the fucking buildings. I think they busted through a Toys R Us as well.
Yeah, yeah,
They wrecked two malls, like two actual malls. They demolished those malls apparently, and it's like, oh
that's
my
awesome.
god, you know,
Perfect.
it definitely is. The Nazis,
But Nazis,
the
the
Nazis,
Illinois Nazis,
the
hate
Illinois
those Illinois
Nazis.
Nazi
The
bastards.
worst thing in the world are Illinois Nazis. Uh, that was one of the gripes that I've had with this film because I thought, and this is going to throw people back. Some people have probably never seen this movie, or they probably only heard references of it.
Like
Uh,
me.
like you always, Chris, because anytime I mention anything pre '90s, it's like, what? I didn't know that.
Hey, I'm catching up. Catching up.
Yeah, fucking what, like 50 plus years later or whatever. I think that's where the '80s were at. 40, somewhere around there. Either way. Uh, yeah, everything, every which way but loose has a B plot where they pretty much come across these biker guys that they do come off a bit Nazi-ish, um,
Yeah.
and I thought that that movie handled that better because it felt like the Blues Brothers was trying to emulate that, where it's like this one biker gang and it's like, oh yeah, we're the toughest men's around. You know who we are? We're the Black Widows, and you know they've gotten their asses whipped by the policemen. They've gotten most of their motorcycles all blown up by a fucking old woman on a porch with a shotgun because they went and they decided to fuck up her porch and everything, and so she fucking aimed that gun and blew up a couple of motorcycles, and everyone's all like, retreat, and it's all like, yeah, big tough Black Widows and everything trying to jump an old woman, and she has a shotgun that's just fucking him up. So when I saw the Illinois Nazis, that's what it very much felt like. It felt like the Black Widows, and I was all like, oh, I definitely know I've seen this before. Every which way but loose. And it was even funnier too because whenever they when the leader and the lieutenant are up against Eastwood and his orangutan named Clyde and everything, all he tells Clyde is right turn or right punch and everything, and that gorilla, or not gorilla, orangutan just extended his fist outward and just knocked them on their asses off their
Sounds
bikes.
like the weirdest movie ever.
It definitely is, especially when you have that same old woman bitch at Clint Eastwood about Clyde eating her Oreos, and it's like apparently the woman can't keep Oreos in the house because Clyde keeps finding them and eating them. And I think he drinks alcohol too. Like this guy's living the life. I wish I could sit around in a diaper all day, eating Oreos and drinking alcohol. But I feel like that movie did it better.
Dead in a month.
Pretty much and everything, but you know, I kind of feel like Blues Brothers try to replicate that with the Illinois Nazis, and I just kind of thought that Every Which Way But Loose kind of did that a little bit better. But they still had fun because, again, Carrie Fisher, I think she shot up Some of Their Ride and everything at one point. So almost everyone, in a sense, had a shot at these guys. All while, you know, Elwood and Jake are just hauling ass to the next stop to find the next bandmate.
Trying to get that money.
And this is probably one of the few times that when we watch an ending to a movie, I know most people would probably say, oh, that felt rushed. I was like, actually, no, this is so fucking perfect because I'm tired of watching this fucking movie and everything. I like that, you know, it's like right after the show, they run away, they go and they do the payment thing, they get arrested, but they didn't care because the orphanage got saved. They paid the I think it's the mortgage, or no, it's not.
It was
property
like the taxes or something.
Yeah,
property taxes. But like they got their band reunited, they got a record deal, and they're just jamming out in prison now. Like they're just serving their time. Like
pretty much,
they don't care. These guys don't care about like breaking the law. And,
they're very cool about it because, well, also too for them, they looked at it as, you know what, we broke the law for a noble cause. You know, we did everything that we did to save this orphanage, and I also like how pretty much in them doing this in the final bout before the big show, where they already got all the band back together and they already got the instruments and whatnot, that essentially they use child labor to promote their concert and everything, because you know the children are like, all right kids, it's like you guys have this amount of time to sit there and to go pass out and let everyone know that the Blues Brothers are back.
They were desperate. They only had one night.
And everything.
They had to resort to that.
Exactly. And I actually think that like the final send off like musical numbers were actually really, really good. There's some of them that probably could have done away with, but for the time's sake. But yeah, like the Ray Charles one, like the Ray Charles musical, like I kind of get they wanted Ray Charles to play, but also too you could have had Ray Charles at that. You know, since he did the instruments, you could have just had Ray Charles like over there, and they all did like a huge musical number towards the end. I know I'm coming off very picky, but I'm also very tired. It's like I actually really do enjoy this movie, but there are things about this movie. It's like, why did you do that? Why did you do this? Um, you
Because
know,
it was part of the story, man.
what is the story? Tell us,
Two
Chris.
brothers finding their faith in God, or at least one brother refining his faith in God, because you can tell he doesn't really believe in God, or he doesn't respect
Until they ran
religion
into
in the
James
beginning.
Brown, and
Yeah, and they get he gets the insight, the light from God, and he's just like, I know what we need to do, and they embark on their mission, and they're protected every step of the way until that mission is completed. They survive all the mysterious woman's attacks. They survive the Nazis. They survive, like, they don't get arrested until the very end. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of religion. There is some religious messaging, I think, but I think it's more of just like a love letter to music, blues music.
yeah. Well, also too,
Jazz.
Aykroyd's a huge spiritualist, so
Yeah.
I think that that easily falls within the huge religion category, of what Jake felt. And I kind of like always like wondered. It's all like I was like, did Aykroyd kind of wrote this just to kind of throw like a little punch at Belushi of like, hey, we're gonna get you inside a church with James Brown and you're gonna feel God. And like Jake's all like, hey, just give me some coke, dude, I'll feel anything. He's like
Do you see the light? What light? Do you see the light? I see the light.
I like okay, so like when it came to that scene, that one I actually did fine. I was like, oh, that was actually genuine and everything. But like at the same time too, having James Brown, get the room going, it's like what, I will see the light and feel the power and everything when it comes to James Brown in the room. And it's like I don't listen to him often, but when I do, like that is like a really good like a feeling of energy. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I can get all my chores done, I can get writing done, I can stream podcasts, and still have time for some alone time. And but
Some alone time.
not like
But
that,
yeah,
not
no,
like
I
that.
mean,
No, 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 no.
I think no, I mean, I think when it's important when you're writing is just like, I mean, I didn't feel like there was an over like pushing of a message or anything like that. Like
Yeah,
he wrote these two characters, they went on a little mission together and they succeeded. And I think like it's important not to like write biases, like too strong. Like obviously bad Nazis are bad, so you defeated the Nazis by making them drive off the ramp and make it explode in the street or get
pretty
or they're like
much.
in this they land and then they like go into the street, don't they? And then they just kind of explode or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's literally like one of the best freaking props and everything where they're just falling and they go and they go and then
yeah. I
apparently
fall for like 5 minutes.
they had developed such gravity dropping all the way down and they broke through the floor, the road, the asphalt without the
It
car
broke through the road.
exploding, mostly probably because they did not have the effects for an exploding car. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's essentially the Nazis fell through a wooden beam in a road and like that was it.
yeah.
Um,
But like, I think the script is important because like just for writers to read because like
Simplicity,
you
very simplistic.
the simplicity, you get the story out. Like this script, like it probably would have passed for like a really long outline. I think if we try to turn this in school, uh, like the formatting is like not really there. You have characters introduced and you don't really have them like really well scripted, and it's just. But you can identify a lot of the key points of like
Yeah,
what a story is. We learned in story conceptual storytelling. So I just think it's a neat little script.
I do agree. Even though I'm such a hard ass and a stiffler for getting your headers right, but at the same time
Yeah,
too, I did also kind of think um, when it came to the writing for Aykroyd, it kind of made me wonder if maybe the Fravor style that he did do, I wonder if that's how they just did the SNL skits back then. You know,
just like throwing typing everything that comes to mind, getting it on
exactly.
this page. Yeah,
Obviously, probably nowadays it's like interior, blah 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 blah, dash day or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
like it's more like that. But yeah, you can definitely see from the from the screenplay, it is it's a little time capsule of its time, and I know that some people can also argue it's like, well, you know what, Chinatown came out in 73, and it has like, you know well, the script was probably written back in 72, because the film came out in
Yeah.
73. It's like, so like, why is it the script not properly formatted like that? And that's when I sit there, it's like Aykroyd had it, and chances are this was probably a rush gig for Landis.
Yeah.
So Landis was just trying to transcribe everything and do it as best as to his ability. And I'm pretty sure even in Aykroyd's like, oh, you took out that one part. Yeah, no, we don't fucking need it, buddy. And it's like, this is only 52 pages. Are you sure it's enough? Yeah, it's fucking enough. Like, I
Yeah.
transcribed enough. And, who knows? Like, I would definitely love to sit there and see the actual 324-page script. I'm pretty sure that's
Sure.
locked up in a vault
Do you wanna
somewhere.
do you wanna open that Pandora's box there?
I mean, there's no way hell you're gonna get me to read all of that, but also too, at this point, I finished Stephen King's Dark Tower, and that's like well over probably 4,000 pages. The coffee's
Holy crap.
running thin. I think it's time that we need to wrap this up. I think that's the coffee sign that we need to wrap this up. Chris, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on the Zealous Slacker on Instagram and YouTube. I'm trying to get that channel up if I ever get time for it.
In between
But
work and in between this podcast, I highly doubt I'm fucking with you. Hopefully,
yeah, I
you
mean,
can get that up and everything, especially with the website. I know you had the website up for a little bit.
yeah, I think the website's gonna be a back burner thing. That was more of like just learning how to do web design stuff. But yeah,
But yeah,
we'll
and
focus on just YouTube stuff.
And you can find me at the Gothic Storyteller on all the socials and on Twitch, where on Wednesdays and Saturdays I host Movie Talk. Tonight we did A Scanner Darkly, and holy hell did that take so much energy out of me. Great Keanu Reeves movie, great Philip K. Dick adaptation, which goes into next month's episode, where Chris has also wonderfully pitched in Minority Report, which I did not know was a Philip K. Dick novel, neither. So we're gonna jump into some science fiction. We all know Chris loves his science fiction. So uh, he had to give us one with Tom Cruise though. Like when I read that, I was like,
I know,
Tom
but
Cruise movie.
I mean,
But
you got to give him credit for this one.
I've seen the movie though.
like his
He
other
did
ones.
fantastic in it, and I kind of sat there and thought maybe his last actually really good dramatic role was Magnolia. Minority Report was 03, so then technically that was like his last really good dramatic role. But that was also at the.
Which one is Magnolia?
That's the one with Paul W.S. Anderson in it. It's supposed to be the life in the San Fernando Valley. It's like it follows different storylines, because like there's like one storyline that has it where it's this game show host.
Oh yeah, it ends with all the frogs, right?
Yes, yes. There's that big biblical, because the boy that's on the game show, he's been following like this really really huge storm, and he thinks it's going to be a big one, and there's like all these like interesting, the guy who used to not co-host, but he was the co-creator of that game show. He was Tom Cruise's father, which Tom Cruise completely abandoned him because he abandoned his wife and everything when she was sick. So Tom Cruise had to take care. I'm mentioning spoilers, but this movie's been out since fucking 1999, folks. You had 24 fucking years. I remember
Tom Cruise in that.
God, this is a really long wrap up.
Yeah. Oh shit, are we still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording. Say goodbye to everyone, Chris. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
We're gonna go to bed.